morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Greater Canton. We are an inclusive community whose mission can be described by our keywords: care, respect, and grow. We are a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We affirm their principles and purposes as they're listed in the back side of your order of service. And we welcome people of all faiths and spiritual paths into worship with us. We have with us this morning Mr. Michael Curtis, who is known here at our pulpit before in the past. He's also known widely within the yoga community, within the spiritual community and the music community and the teaching community. He's been a leader in all of those areas. He's been a real patron of the arts and patron of yoga. Started the yoga place in North Canton many years back and really was the guiding light of yoga in Stark County for a very long time, the only light, a bright light as it was. And more recently, in the last year, he has expanded into what he calls Yoga Central, which is in the building across from Raisin Rack on the cemetery, the south side of the building, the entrance is. He's remodeled it to be a beautiful, spiritual, welcoming place that he sees not so much to be the owner of, but to be the giver of to the community, as a place where spiritual endeavors can be pursued for the benefit of the whole community. So I'm privileged to call him friend, and I'm thrilled to have him back at our pulpit this morning. Welcome, Michael.
I'm a yoga teacher. So in yoga we do a lot of this. And over the years it's come to mean a lot more to me than it did at the beginning. I think in large part the fitness industry hijacked yoga. And so now, when we do this, it's called bending forward. And when we say bending forward, we are thinking in those terms because we regard it as a stretch. We're bending forward to stretch. But these movements in yoga did not come out of a fitness tradition. They came out of a spiritual tradition. So this movement is really a bow. When I'm teaching yoga, I don't say bend forward anymore, I say bow down. And so that makes it multidimensional, multifunctional. It has, it's more holistic, it has a spiritual intention. And when we're bending forward, we're not bending forward necessarily to stretch that may happen. We're bending forward to feel and show humility and respect. And that's a really big thing, I think, that we've lost over the years for a number of reasons, not just the fitness industry. So if we go back to the French Revolution, which was the people holding the royalty accountable for excesses, right? And the famous words we remember are liberty, fraternity, equality. And that was a great message, and something needed to be done about the excesses of the royalty. I don't know if we needed to cut so many people's heads off, but many in a sense. But I think at that time, you know, the pendulum swings swings from one end to the other, and sometimes it goes too far. So not only did the French Revolution take away the royalty, and they created a republic, but also this idea of bowing was looked at as demeaning. That, we can even go further back, I think, to the Reformation with Martin Luther, because he was very consumed with the meaning of the text. His Reformation was partly a rebellion against ritual, and bowing was part of the ritual. So, even earlier than the French Revolution, we started taking bowing out of the church with the Protestant Reformation. So, I would like to help you reclaim the joy of bowing. And I think we have it right in our breath. When we inhale, there's a lifting up, and the higher up we lift, the deeper down we can bow. So I want you to feel that in your body right now. Just inhaling, and there's a little lift of the heart. One of my favorite things to say in yoga is lift and open the heart. And then we exhale, and you let that go. And in that exhalation, there's a surrender. And it's one of the most beautiful surrenders you can have, because the breath is a source of life. It's a source of energy. We all have a right to breathe, and when we give that exhalation back, we are letting go of something that just a few seconds ago sustained us. So there's that receiving and giving, receiving and offering. Let's just feel that way for a moment. Receiving the breath, welcoming the breath, and then offering it back. In yoga, we make our breath a little fuller and deeper than your average breath. So we're doing that now. Breathing in, welcoming the breath with gratitude, and then offering that back, releasing, letting go. Now, in bowing practices, I've been reading about them for several months. We're not just letting go of the things we don't want. We're letting go of really everything. It's a complete surrender. And just with me a couple more times, feeling the life-giving energy of the breath, and then a feeling of surrender and letting go. Really, what we're surrendering is our need to take. And so often in a yoga class, I'll hear the teacher, I love to go to yoga classes. I go to a lot of yoga classes. I'll hear the teacher say, take a breath, take a breath, take a breath. We don't have to take a breath. Spiritual practice is not about taking. It's really more about giving and surrendering. It's not about gain. It's not about acquiring. It's not about acquisition. It's more about recognizing that in this moment, we have everything we need in order to be fulfilled. Nothing is missing. We don't have to take the breath that's given to us freely. And I also think that when we have that idea of take or getting, a lot of people come to yoga to get healthier, get more relaxed, get more flexible, get stronger. When we have that idea of getting, we're goal-oriented, but yoga is really process-oriented. It's about what we're feeling and what's happening right in this present moment. So again, experience with me, and this time we're going to add the hand. As you inhale, palm up, and that palm up is a symbol of reception, welcoming, and then exhaling, palm down, grounding, letting go, surrender. And a couple more times. There's a lifting up, an elation in the heart on the inhalation. Exhale, letting go, surrender. Let's move to the other hand. We're spreading the breath out, so it's strong for the whole inhalation, and it's strong for the whole exhalation. Sometimes when we exhale, there's a big spike in volume at the beginning, and it tapers off dramatically. Spread the breath out more evenly. Both hands. Lifting the heart with joy and elation. Exhale, connecting to the earth, grounding. Now let's do that. Let's come up on our feet and we'll do a little bit. You can come forward and make more space between yourselves. Laura, just come up here with me. And now we're going up, we're lifting the heels up. Inhale, we'll still lift the hands. Exhale, connecting through our roots, our legs, lifting and opening the heart, welcoming and enjoying the breath, releasing, letting go. That's a bow. We are bowing. We're lifting up and bowing down. Everybody's spiritual practice is different. There are really just as many religions as there are people, or more. Sometimes we switch religions, so there might be more religions there than there are people. Okay, now we'll just do that with our shoulders. Inhaling, exhale. So in the West, in Europe, with the Reformation, the French Revolution, we've taken bowing and we've lost some of that attitude. But in Islam, it's built right into the religion. How many times a day do they do prostrations in Islam? One more time. Okay. So now let's inhale, reach up, open the fingers. That opening is an inhalation. With the lower hand, let's close the fingers, pull the elbow back, and alternate. But just let go of the breath for a moment and just feel this movement. Hold your shoulders back through this range of motion. And it's real slow and gentle, nothing harsh, nothing abrupt. Okay. We'll amplify that a little bit. I'll do one alone. So we have the hands together. It's sort of a bow in and of itself, isn't it? Because a bow is a sign of respect, and the hands in this mudra are also a sign of respect. So now, as you inhale, we're going to, well, this is going to be the inhalation. As you exhale, we'll reach one arm up. Inhale to center, the palms slide together. And exhale across the other way. Let's do that together. With your own breath. It can be a real small movement. You can do it sitting in a chair. Sometimes we get the idea that in yoga we're trying to do as much and go as far as we can, but really it's not about testing how far the body can go. Yoga is more about being kind to the body and taking care of the body. And recognizing the body as a reflection of nature, a temple of the spirit. All right, that's good. Now, let's try more of a Buddhist bow. Before they bow, typically, they feel the weight of their body on the floor and get the legs grounded, the feet grounded, and tipping forward. And we'll come back up. Now we might think one bow is enough. Okay, I bowed, I'm done. But some of them bow hundreds of times a day. And even in some of our Christian monasteries, bowing is part of their daily practice. There's a Benedictine monastery in California. They actually have to tutor visitors and say, I know you're used to the genuflection, but here we bow. And we do a lot of it. And there's never an occasion when we cannot bow. And bowing is always appropriate. It's a big part of their monastic life and their monastic tradition. And it's the same with the Buddhists. When we think of Buddhism, we often think of their central practice being meditation. But actually, their central practice is bowing. Oh, here we go. We're bowing again. You can bow with your breath or just bow when you are ready. Now, these outward expressions, of course, are only as good as our inner attitude. It's really our inner life. The bow has to be motivated from inside. A handshake is only as good as the person giving the handshake. The handshake is a symbol. What the handshake represents is in the heart of the person. What the bow represents is in the heart of the person. Okay, one more bow. And standing tall. Just closing your eyes for a moment and feeling the effects of that. Bless everyone. If bowing helps us recognize the greatness around us, the beauty around us, if bowing helps us cultivate humility and respect, and if bowing helps us open our hearts and feel love, then that can enrich your spiritual practice enormously. Oh, before we sit down, we'll do, take the arms up overhead, reach high, feel the lift of the heart, and come back down and welcome to sit down again. So that's a yoga practice you can take with you anywhere. On an airplane, you can just sit there on the airplane. I'm inhaling, I'm opening like a flower blooming. On the inhalation, the flower blooming. And on the exhalation, the flower dropping its petals. It's all part of the circle of life. Yet we have to give back the breath. And one day we don't breathe anymore. So anytime you can feel grateful for your breath, I think that's a wonderful moment of mindfulness. And that's the intention of bowing. It's not to stretch my back, but to be in the present moment, awake, and expressing humility, respect, gratitude, reverence, love, adoration. A lot of the bowing practices I've been reading about are based in adoration. And some of you probably listened to Krista Tippett, right? A wonderful show and a great precursor to coming to the service, because she's on Sunday mornings. I highly recommend Krista Tippett. We should team up sometime to bring her here to Canton. But I think that's about $20,000. But she had a rabbi on her show one time, and that rabbi would have everybody do a full prostration every service. And for some of them it was particularly hard. They didn't like it, and but she continued, she persisted, and it became a very important part of their time together. When do they meet in the synagogue? On Saturdays, typically? So an important part of their Saturday. Yeah. So just so you know, we've been doing these prostrations, and a full prostration, well, you have the Muslim prostration like this. And a full prostration is you get as low as you can. So I'm as low as I can get. I can't get down any farther. That's a full prostration. A wonderful thing, really. I'm not a big fan of too much furniture, and I think our furniture has alienated us from the floor and from the earth in some ways too. So I don't know if you've ever visited India, but they're very often sitting on the floor. They're not up in chairs so much. And typically in India, when you pass someone, they bow to you. Whether they know you or not, you know, it's not their, they don't go in their mind, is this person worthy of a bow? They bow to everyone. All right, any questions, anything you want to add to that? Have you, maybe you've thought about that some too. It can become, what we have to be careful about is it doesn't become automatic. And, or routine. We're trying to make it fresh each time. When you tell someone you love them, you don't want to be on autopilot, right? No.
Could you talk a little bit about mindfulness?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with Eastern practices, whether it's Japan, China, or India, or the smaller nations, that, we use the word mindfulness. It's a translation from some of the Asian languages, but it's not really a super good translation. It works for us, but for them, it's funny that our translation is mindfulness. It puts the center of focus up here. But in the Eastern practices, it's a combination, head and heart. And that's what they mean by mindfulness. That they're not being led around by their mind, chasing a carrot at the end of a stick, but that the heart is involved too. That the heart is a thinking organ. And by mindfulness, they mean that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves thinking about what comes next, but that we're planted in the present moment. Aware in the present moment. That's what we practice in yoga, present moment awareness. And, of course, it doesn't belong to yoga. Anyone can do it anytime, anywhere. When we eat a meal, we want to eat a meal that was prepared by a person practicing mindfulness. When we get a hug, we want to be hugged by a person who's practicing mindfulness. So in some ways it has nothing to do with yoga, but when we go to a yoga class or have a yoga experience, we can step outside of the demands on our time from our work and families and jobs and chores and bills and telephone. You step away from all that and you have less tugging on your mind, and you can be more fully in the present moment. If you remember to turn your cell phone off when you came to class. Which is also part of mindfulness. And certainly when we're talking to someone, if they're being mindful, we enjoy that conversation more. If they're just looking over your shoulder at the next person they want to talk to, or if they're thinking, instead of listening to you, they're thinking about what they want to say or what they want to do later. So mindfulness is really a connection of mind, body, and spirit in the present moment. When we don't have mindfulness, there's a disconnect. Okay, everyone. I really appreciate being here. I'm glad I didn't break down crying. That would have been fine, but since I was a little kid, I don't like crying in front of people, but now I cry more than ever. Talking about bowing would be something that would easily trigger me to start crying.
Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.